How's it going? So, I know it's been a few months now. Honestly, no good excuses. Just kind of got lazy. I had school, but now I'm on break, Enjoying winter break. It's a good time. And I saw Paul George. He's been lighting up the league big time right now. So I figured, hey, if playoff P's coming back, playoff PJ's got to come back too. So I'm here. We're going to talk about some football together, okay? I know it's not basketball, but playoffs are coming up. They're starting today, actually. Going to go on again tomorrow, next week, the week after. Got Pro Bowl coming up, and the champion. Okay, who cares about the Pro Bowl? Are you kidding me? The Super Bowl is going to come up, and then once that picks up, we got All-Star Weekend in basketball, and then we got a whole lot of NBA to talk about. So I'm going to be here. I'm going to be talking about all of it. I'm going to be a little more up to date with this. I'm not going to just slack off like I did earlier, but I hope you guys enjoy it, and let's get into it, yeah? So we got 4 games for this weekend, 2 today and 2 tomorrow. First up, we have the Colts at the Texans, and honestly, I think I'm going to take the Colts in this game. I just don't think that the Texans have enough to stop Andrew Luck in this offense. The Colts have the best offensive line. It's insane. They went from 31st last year in the league to being the number 1 offensive line. I mean, Andrew Luck went, I think, like 8 games without even getting sacked. That's insane. So their O-line is amazing, and the only good part about the Texans defense is their D-line. And at that point, I just consider it a wash. Their strength on defense for the Texans, it doesn't overpower the Colts offense, and their secondary for the Texans is really bad. So Andrew Luck is going to have a field day when it comes to throwing it to T.Y. Hilton and Nyheim Hines. T.Y. Hilton just goes off every single time that he plays in the Texas Stadium, which is super weird. But it just happens to be that way. Like, T.Y. just plays like a possessed man when he reaches Texas. And I just don't think Deshaun Watson is going to be able to do enough. Not because he himself won't be able to put up points, but I just don't think that even though Deshaun Watson and Hopkins are going to have some crazy highlights and they're going to do some amazing things and put up points, I just don't think that they have enough to stop Andrew Luck, because that Texas defense is going to be the one that lets them down. Next up, we have the Seahawks versus the Cowboys. Now, this one is going to be super interesting. My dad is a huge Cowboys fan. The Cowboys are my number 2 team, so I am rooting for them. I do hope that they can make it somewhere this year, because it's been a struggle for us Cowboys fans. But every way I look at it, I just see the Seahawks coming out on top in this game. Like, for the most part, these 2 teams have similar ways of playing. They both have really good defenses for the most part, and they both have incredible ground game. Their running backs are top notch. The only issue is that when you compare the quarterbacks, as much as I do like Dak, I do think he's not given enough credit, and people criticize him a little too much. I mean, this guy has won more games than anyone else has ever when it comes to their first 3 years in the league, and he's taking over, quote-unquote, America's team. The lights are always on him, and he's just, he still led them to so many wins, even though he might not put up all of the numbers you want from your quarterback. But regardless, I think Russell Wilson's by far the better quarterback. There is no comparing Russell Wilson to Dak. Dak is a poor man's Russell Wilson, and that's the best that you can compare them. So at that point, the whole team, both offensive, defense, are basically the same, except when you take the quarterbacks, there's a clear-cut advantage. And I think that's where this game is going to get out of hand. I think that it'll be a low-scoring, close game, but in the fourth quarter, as clutch as Dak is, and Dak is very clutch, I can see this happening where it's similar to Aaron Rodgers taking Dak out 2 years ago in the playoffs, where you just have a better quarterback on the other side, and they're just going to get lucky and somehow make their way through and beat the Cowboys. My gut really wants me to go with the Cowboys, just because I think that Dak is clutch enough to do this. I think that he has a chip on his shoulder. The whole team is out there just trying to prove something. But it's just so hard for me to think that they're going to be able to outplay the Seahawks, And I know the Cowboys are 7-1, but Pete Carroll, And I know the Cowboys are 7-1 when they're playing at home this year, but a Pete Carroll-led team has never even lost in the first round, and I highly doubt that's going to change this time. And if you look at the Cowboys defense just over the past 4 weeks, where 2 of their opponents were the freaking Bucks and the Giants, they got destroyed on defense. Like, this defense has been bad over the last 4 weeks. I think they're ranked in the bottom 5 over the past 4 weeks because of how poorly they've been playing, and that's against 2 really bad offenses right there. Like, the Bucks and the Giants are terrible, and for some reason the Cowboys defense has been really bad. So I'm hoping that trend reverses for them once the playoffs kick in. You know, I hope they can play like they did against the Saints. But I'm not going to be surprised if for some reason the Cowboys just can't put it together at Jerry World and they're going to end up losing. So I'm going to vote Seahawks, even though my gut wants me to vote for the Cowboys. But we'll see how it goes. I'm sure my dad will definitely enjoy it. For the next game, we're going to go ahead and look at the Chargers at the Ravens. Now, this one is really interesting. You know, we have the Chargers, who finished with a better overall record than the Ravens. And sadly, they're a wild card team only because they have the Chiefs in their division. And oh my gosh, it's bad luck, and there's nothing they can really do about it. But they do have to go up to Baltimore and play in the cold against the Ravens, and we'll see how that goes. Personally, I think that the Chargers are going to be just fine, though. I think that it was more of a fluke than anything that the Ravens were able to get past the Chargers the first time. Now, don't get me wrong, this Ravens defense is incredible, but if the Chargers happen to get 1 or 2 scores up on the Ravens, I think the hope is gone. I do not believe in Lamar Jackson being able to lead them back after a 2-score deficit. Like, that's just not going to happen. Their play style on the offense is just not going to be able to let them put up that many points that quickly. And when we look at Lamar, he's really good at throwing when it comes to distance, but his accuracy is still questionable. I think he is underrated as a passer. I do believe that when I've seen him throw, he does a pretty good job at it. But I can see it being a problem with him having 0 playoff experience, with this just all being too big of a stage for him to start with. I can see the Chargers just steamrolling through this, and honestly, the Chargers are the most complete team for sure. They have every single category, every single position checked off. They have amazing pass rushers and Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram. Their secondary is still really good despite the injuries that they've had on their defense over the whole season. Their offense is finally coming together and they're healthy again. Melvin Gordon is going to be back. I think Eckler might be back as well. I'm not positive on that, but I think so. You know, Phillip Rivers is always going to show up. He's there, and they have Keenan Allen. They got the Williams brothers on the outside, so I think that they'll have a really, really good time up in Baltimore. You know, I'm not worried about the Chargers, and all of these predictions honestly could be completely wrong because there is no clear-cut winner for any of these games, including the one that I'm going to talk about right after. But I just see the Chargers as the one coming out on top. The Ravens just look like they have a ceiling right now, and I think maybe next year or the year afterwards, things could be different. I also do think that maybe the league might figure out the whole Ravens offense at that point. And most of the time when a team loses in the regular season, I think they come back with a vengeance in the playoffs. And I think the Chargers are going to definitely look at their film against the Ravens and be like, you know what, we messed up in all of these different ways, and they're going to be able to fix all of those things. I'm going to take the Chargers. I think Phillip Rivers he's just going to take over and make sure that he wins this game. So now we're going to take a look at the last game of the wild card weekend. We're going to go ahead and look at the Philadelphia Eagles going up to the Chicago Bears. Now, fly Eagles fly. I mean, I really want them to win. Like, I want the Cinderella story of Nick Foles to continue. I think it's kind of hilarious, and just honestly kind of sweet. Like, it's great that he was able to go ahead and lead the Eagles to a Super Bowl last year. I mean, even though Philly fans can be super annoying sometimes, it was really happy for him to be able to do that, and for the whole franchise to just get that W. And I really want the whole Nick Foles thing to continue, because if they do win against the Bears, like, oh my gosh, I think Philadelphia has a quarterback problem. That I don't know how you can bench Nick Foles next year, knowing that he's been playing so well. I think that Nick Foles might be their quarterback for the next year, and maybe Carson Wentz takes a year to just recover from all of his injuries and just, learn a little bit more before he gets back to being the starting quarterback, Regardless, though, even though I want the Cinderella story to happen, I don't think it will. I just think that this Bears defense reminds me a whole lot of the Broncos defense back in 2015 when they carried Peyton Manning, or when we look at the Bears defense from like 85, or I think it was the Bucks back in like 02. There have been a lot of good defenses that have carried some like shaky offenses, and I think that's exactly what we're seeing in Chicago. I think that this Bears defense on every level, whether it's their D-line, the linebackers, the corner, safeties, every single level, they have top-notch players, and they're all playing exceptionally well. Like, it is an absolute machine, and I don't see any offense actually being able to go ahead and take them out. It's not realistic when it comes to an offense that's as inconsistent as the Eagles offense. And even though Nick Foles seems to have been making not only the offense but the whole team play better, I don't think that they're going to be able to overcome this Bears defense. And it's not even just Khalil Mack. Like, Khalil Mack is incredible, and like the reason his numbers have been down later on in the season is because defenses have been forced to focus on him. But that's just opened it up for everyone else. It's opened it up for Hicks. It's opened it up for the backside with Eddie Jackson and Amukamara. And it's just, there's too much to control on that Bears defense for you to actually be able to do anything about it. And I think playing in Chicago is what's going to make the difference. Like, that crowd in Chicago, the weather, the wind, all of that's going to factor in, and it's going to be hard for the Eagles to be able to overcome that and play like a silent snap count, even though they know that the crowd is going to be so harsh in Chicago. So yeah, I guess those are ultimately my 4 picks. If you want me to explain a little bit more about why I chose them, too bad, because this video is going to come up today, and I mean by the time that anyone watches this, the playoff games are basically going to be over. So yeah, I mean, this is just how I feel about it. I'm going to go ahead and take the Colts, the Seahawks, the Chargers, and the Eagles. And the Bears, sorry. So I'm taking 3 away teams and only 1 home team, which is kind of crazy. But like I said, all of my picks could be wrong. This is a very much of a toss-up wildcard weekend that I've ever seen. I don't see any clear winners at all. And even for the whole playoffs, I can see the Chargers going all the way. I can see the Colts going all the way. I can see the Seahawks going all the way. The Eagles going all the way. Like, all of these teams have the potential to make it to the Super Bowl, and I think that's going to be really fun this year because there is no clear-cut winner. And I'm excited to see what happens later today and tomorrow. And I'm going to have a new video out for you guys soon enough, and we're going to go ahead and talk through the divisional round as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I know this video is super long. If you want it shorter or something, let me know. If you guys liked this, feel free to give it a like, and if you didn't, feel free to give it a dislike, you do you. But thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.